I've got on the phone a Yeppoon resident. His name is James Ashby. I think he's known pretty much to everybody here. James, good morning.
Yeah, morning, Dales.
Now, you have an issue you want to discuss about the old TAFE, and I must admit, I was kind of blindsided when you spoke to me about it off air because I didn't even know the situation was evolving with the old TAFE.
I think this is what most local residents here on the Cap Coast are a bit disappointed in, is the fact that its plan, which has been organised by the Central Queensland University and state government, along with a independent Aboriginal school, is going to be turned into a troubled and disengaged education facility for all kids, but there is going to be a large focus on Indigenous learning. And I think the most troubling part is there has been absolutely zero community consultation over a troubled and disengaged youth training facility. What's even more troubling is it's right beside the Yeppoon High School on Tabone Street here in Yeppoon, which I think is a disaster waiting to happen when you've got disengaged youth right beside a school of more than 1,000 regular kids.
Well, I can see your point there. The point I'm trying to ascertain is, you say there's been no community consultation. I'm a pretty avid follower of local news. I get most of the news releases, press releases. It has even gone under my radar.
Well, we don't know how many kids are going to be attending. We don't know the calibre. We know that they're going to come from all over the place. I've been told in a briefing last year. I support the idea of the program. I just think it's the wrong location. But I think that we know these kids are going to come from places like Wirrabinda and surrounding areas. There's no immediate catchment for them. They can come from wherever. We're paying for it as taxpayers, and yet we haven't been given a say on it. And the community, after learning just this week, are up in arms. And I think that we have a lot to ask of our local member, who's Nigel Hutton. He hasn't said a word on this. The organisation, the NBNA, has come out on my social media page and sort of said, look, calm down, it's only disengaged youth. But that is of concern to local residents, particularly when you've got mums and dads that, allow their kids to walk to school. Mate, I've been a young bloke before, so have you. I just wouldn't put rival schools beside one another, and especially one with disengaged youth. I think it's
so. You're suggesting, James, that there's liable to be what we used to call schoolyard brawls.
I think it's inevitable, and no one can prove me wrong. I think this will be a point where if this goes ahead, I'll be able to say, look, I told you so, but it'll be too late by then. And so this is why I'm saying community should have had consultation over the project. I think I'm only hearing about it because you told me.
Has there been any community consultation on this project?
Absolutely none. And if you think posting a few things to social media, as in Facebook, is consultation, think again. And I'll say this, Dales, what has evolved over the last couple of days is the NBNA, which is the Aboriginal organisation establishing this, have now come out and said they're establishing another bigger one in Emu Park. But again, where's the community consultation? So residents have a right to know about these things, and that's where their local member of parliament should get involved. That's where council should also be communicating. And I think it's a bit low grade of the Central Queensland University to do this without consultation as well. They currently own the site. They did a closed tender process, from what I understand.
Hold on.
It wasn't open.
Can I just ask a question, James? Did you say a closed tender process?
Yeah, 100%. They didn't make.
I have never heard of a closed tender process for a public building.
So these are some of the concerns that sort of put a big red light over my head. I keep sitting there thinking to myself, why haven't we been told about it? And as a community, I think we deserve to have a say on a troubled and disengaged youth education facility that's been established right beside the Yeppoon High School.
Have you added troubled to that, or just disengaged youth? Because, what I fear is that if you've got disengaged youth, no matter what colour, yellow, blue or green, then you're going to have people who are kind of bored and wanting to, just don't like school against school right beside kids who are going to a normal general school.
I'm just giving people the raw facts. When I received a briefing, which was about April last year, prior to the state election, as a candidate, they gave me a briefing. They described some of these kids as having had trouble with the law, and they're trying to re-engage them in education, which I fully support. It's the location, Dales, that I think is the concern to people on the Capricorn Coast. It's a great facility, but it was a TAFE formerly. It was closed down in 2020 at the start of COVID, and it hasn't really been used as an education facility since then. It has been used by the Livingston Shire Council, who rented the facility off the CQU at $104,000 a year, I might just add. But the senior citizens who've been using the facility, they've been told they've got to go, and the handover is slated for the 1st of July. So it's happening very quickly, and that's why I felt that the community should know more about it.
James, I am only learning about it through you, so can you just let me know what happens? We'll follow it up from our end, but I would just like to know how it's proceeding, because a closed tender, I mean, those happen in defence and things like that, but there's normally one or two at least people putting in for it.
Well, they say they did a closed tender because the site is approved for education purposes, but I know that there are a number of other education organisations here in central Queensland that would have dearly have loved to participate in that tender process, but they weren't invited. And when you're talking about the asset sales of something like a school, I just believe that you try and get the best bang for buck, and you try and get the best proponents there, one that will work alongside the Yeppoon High School well. I just don't see troubled and disengaged youth service establishing themselves beside the Yeppoon High School as the ideal proponent. And it should be somewhere else away from other regular schools. Okay,
well, you've made your point this morning. I appreciate you bringing it to our attention. And
I've got a petition there, Dales, if you want. People can just go to my Facebook page and find that. It's just James Ashby, Pauline Hanson's One Nation.
Okay, we'll see where it goes. Thank you for your time, and we'll follow it up with you, James, I'm sure.
No, thanks, mate. Appreciate your interest.
Thank you. James Ashby. He's put some valid concerns forward. And why was it a closed tender? That's what I'd like to know. It's